Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one and welcome all once again to SimSpeed TV. After a couple of weeks break, we are back for the Australian Sim Racing Group Sprintcar Pro Invitational Series. This is round 8, the Vortex Simsport Port Royal 30, of course at Port Royal Speedway, which heads up a round of our Pennsylvania Challenge. So that little championship within a championship is certainly going to be spiced up here today. Difficult circuit at Port Royal, and one that the drivers are surely keen to tackle, especially considering how tightly those turns tighten up, I suppose you could say, at the exits. We're running a slightly different format once again tonight. We'll be talking a bit more about that in the interim, but for now, a very warm welcome to you all live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner, with Scott Rankin alongside me in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy producing behind the scenes, bringing you these beautiful sweeping views of Port Royal Speedway. Scott, good to be back, sprint car racing once more, and well, the Pennsylvania Challenge will reach its next step.
Yeah, and this is an important one for me as well, because this one, and actually our primary sponsor for the evening, is Vortex Simsport as well, which is the team I get to go oval racing on board with. So this one goes out to all my boys, from Thomas Mitchell, from Lachlan Mead, from Nathan Vanderwacker, Kobe Noonan, and just the entire team, and you know, a bunch of really, really good lads. And look, the talent may not necessarily always be that brilliant, but the thing that brings a good sim racing team together is banter, and we have it in spades.
Excellent stuff. Good to hear. Well, we're sure to see some great racing here today. A little bit of information on how things stand coming into this particular round. We've seen the championship battle really tighten up. Tim Ryan hitting back after falling by the wayside a couple of rounds ago. He's back in second place in the overall standings, but Aiden Forster in the championship lead. Clayton Davies for Tanner Pettit Racing also in third spot. Tanner Pettit himself was fighting for the lead of the championship early on, but has dropped back a little bit in the intervening rounds. Still, you've got to note just how close these championship standings are. Stewart, Oldfield, Carmen, Gowans, they're all still within striking distance, and we still have plenty of the championship left to go.
Yeah, and don't forget, that's without the drop round actually included in that one. As soon as you add a drop round, it shuffles things up not as much as you'd expect, but really, really competitively towards the front end of things. So, obviously the Tanner Pettit Racing crew are doing phenomenal, at the moment across the entirety of the season. But have a look at Kelly Carmen, who's right there and really challenging for things. Ethan Foley's been putting in some consistent results of late. Riley Hutchison's climbed a long, long way up in terms of point standings as well. So again, we're looking at guys that might not necessarily be there and challenging for outright results each and every single week, but they've managed to put enough results up on the table to keep themselves in the standings. And probably the biggest stat, I think, in terms of the season thus far is that if you have a look at our 7 rounds, well, 6 of the 7 rounds have actually been won by the Tanner Pettit Racing crew, and that's a big old challenge to the rest of the field. There's only one other driver who's got a win in 2026, and that's Tim Ryan.
Yeah, TPR has been dominant at the front of the field here. Their drivers are always in contention for a podium one way or the other. Rookie championship standings there see Aiden Forster on top once more. We also have the Pennsylvania Challenge. Already completed one round of it, and that was when we were back at Williams Grove, grouping all of the Pennsylvania-based dirt ovals into their own little sub-championship. Well, Tanner Pettit was the one who finished on top at Williams Grove. Clayton Davies and Tim Ryan completed the podium. We'll see how much these standings are jigged around come the end of this round. Looking forward to seeing what the likes of Ethan Foley and Harry Stewart can do from a bit further back in those standings.
Yeah, still opportunities on the table. Again, this is a tricky one. A lot of the drivers, and I was talking to a couple of drivers early on today, in particular, Zach Rattray White was giving me some really, really strong feedback about this racetrack. He says it's going to get bumpy and it's going to get challenging up and against the fence. And if that's where the groove actually starts to form, he said, keep your eye on someone like a Tim, like a Stewart, those sorts of guys who can do quite well. Paul Bryan could bring himself into the mix and a challenging circuit. But the other big thing is that when we talk about a bumpy racetrack, particularly when that groove is right up and against the fence, that means it's challenging, and if it's smooth, it's quite easy. All of a sudden, the difficulty level's quite a lot lower. When that difficulty level climbs up, you're going to start seeing guys make big mistakes. You're going to start seeing guys put right rears, right fronts into fences, make contact with each other as well. Because if the car's nice and gripped up, man, that's so easy to drive. I know what I can do with that. I can manage that throttle pressure quite well. If the car's gripped up and then you find a bump and the thing's in the air, well, you've got to balance that with the throttle. You've got to soar and work away at the wheel. And really, tonight, this is probably one of the most challenging tracks we're going to have on the season.
Yeah, and it kicks off the second half of the championship. As you can see, we're going to Knoxville next week before heading to I-55, Lincoln, Eldora, Lernerville, Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway, and the dirt track at Charlotte to round off the season. We're getting the little briefing going in Sim at the moment, so the hot laps shouldn't be too far away. A little bit more information here on Port Royal. Only 800 meters in length, but there was no race back in 2025. The last time we were here was in 2024. We'll see who manages to grab the win here, because Harry Stewart was the one who crossed the line first place in 2024, but he got demoted for an incident in the race. Ultimately, he started in 11th for that feature that he ended up crossing the line first for. So we've been advised to keep an eye out for him tonight.
Yeah, he's going to be quick. He's going to give himself every opportunity as well. But also, it's fastest qualifier from our heats. We're going to do this a little bit of an invert in terms of the qualifying in the heats. If you go back to P4 and your fastest qualifier for each heat, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 across the night, they will get the opportunity to auto-qualify themselves through to the heat pole. First off, I'm going to have heat number 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. That's the priority order. So if the pole position driver on the night, the guy that sets the quick time, he manages to win his heat, he is guaranteed to start the feature from P1. But that brings in a little bit of challenge as well. We've already talked about this track can be a little bit difficult with the bumps and everything as we're going to get into our hot laps. A little bit of fun, a little bit tearing the racetrack up and having a little bit of fun as well. But that's really, really big. There was only one driver that's managed to pull it off so far when we've run this format earlier on in the season. Tonight is that secondary opportunity. And the big thing is, the drivers actually really like these different formats. They actually love the fact that not just show up, throw it all together and have a go. No, they mix it up in the real world as well. And they love the fact that we get the opportunity to match that in the sim.
Yeah, it's always fantastic to see. We also raced at Port Royal in 2022 for the ODSE 360 Speed Week, and Tim Ryan took victory there as well. Nathan Vanderwacker was granted victory in 2024 when Harry Stewart was demoted in the middle of the hot laps here and practice presented by NBS 3D Printed RC and Slot Car Customs. We also want to give a shout out to Australian Speedway Results as well for being the sponsor of the Pennsylvania Challenge. Cole Ferguson, a driver in the series and also the man behind Australian Speedway Results, has thrown a lot of support behind the 2026 season. We should also have a think about the Speedway draft standings as well. That'll be interesting to see. We've got our own little championship going on there as drivers make their way out of pit lane. These are our picks. So we've all picked Paul Bryan for this one. I'm not sure if these
so that
are
was our previous results.
Yeah.
That was our previous sets of picks and previous results. Yeah, so we'll get that one fixed up. We've got a little bit of time.
There we are.
We can go away. There we go. That looks a lot better.
Triple Paul Bryan. But looks like myself and Jay have gone for Aidan Forster in our team. You've decided that Clayton Davies and Tanner Pettit's got the other two TPR drivers will bring you those points. We'll see.
Yeah, and the big thing is here tonight is, well, it's Vortex Simsport week, and that means I'm going to pick team boss Thomas Mitchell. Jay's gone for Bailey Leeson as well. But the big thing is in terms of Speedway Draft, is those values have been mixed up a little bit, chatting to some of the coding that's going on in the background as well. There's now sort of a results and a form guide that gets applied to this one. Zach Rattray White got bumped up into the 10K category. Tanner Pettit got taken from the 10K category back down to the 8K category. And Berkeley has gone from 10K back to 6K. This is a dynamic system now that we're playing with, and that means each and every week you've got to show up and you've got to start picking through. Up until now, it's been pretty much the same, little bit of tinkering up and down the field, but no. Now you've got to show up and actually have a think about who you can pick up at each price point.
So my scattershot strategy that has somehow granted me a very good position in those standings will probably need to be shaken up in the second half of the season. So the hot laps going the way of Matthew Gowans for Old Man Racing. Just under 15 seconds a lap time around Port Royal here. And being that it's a little more wide open than the last couple of tracks we've come to, the drivers will get a good turn of average speed around here. Advancing to the next session, and that is qualifying presented by SimWrap Market. Let's see who gets the quick time here, and we'll start, well, in this case, fourth for heat number 1.
Yeah, great opportunity to get out there and have a crack at it as well, because, look, if you really want to mix things up, you want to try and qualify 6th, that'll get you pole position. 6th through 10th will have pole position for the heats, but look, if you're taking a risk and you're qualifying out of 6th, that can get, if you're trying to guess what the pole position time will be and just be a fraction under that, that can be difficult. Have a look at that high line as well. A little bit of slick starting to form on the, whoa, that's, I'm going to say that's a failure of some description for Joel Berkeley.
Yeah, that's a very bizarre spin. His teammate at Ulick Simsport, Bradley Oldfield, having a much smoother run through the last couple of corners. It seems like oversteer on exit is something the drivers will need to watch out for. Oldfield, the first to set a time in this session, 15.3, but each driver gets 2 laps to set their ultimate time for the heats. And Oldfield will make a marginal improvement to a 15.1, but that may not grant him the quick time in the end. The track is still steadily evolving, so let's see how the lap times are affected from that.
One of the things I was just keeping an eye on, Nick Mithen, I think he entered turn 3 and 4 quite a lot lower. Didn't actually try and use all the real estate that was available to him. He'll get the right rear press down into the ground. I believe our timing tower has just decided now is the best time. There we go. There's a few updates. Matthew Gowans is going to go ahead and set a new quick time, shuffle himself up the timing boards. Mithen will come out of the turn 4 all kinds of sideways. Did he manage to get a lap put together? I think he might have just nicked the wall on both laps. Nick Mithen, I don't think registered a time.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Nick. Darcy Walker doing quite well at the moment. Put himself into second place. Darcy Wilson, meanwhile, across the line to set a 15.188, which should put him in sixth just between Gary Redcliffe and Nathan Norman. Nash Granger puts his first time down. It's a 15.5. Craig Dunn, a 15.1 on his first lap. That's looking pretty good, I have to say, but we're still waiting on times for a significant portion of this field. Fenson to the top on a 15.0.
Just went back and had a quick look at Harry Stewart. Should have improved on lap 2. No, he didn't. It was a mistake at one end of the racetrack. His best time was actually his first time, hence him only managing to get a 15.329 down. Starting to see a few more times come through. Henry Fenson now going up towards the top of the timing sheets as he'll set the quick time now down to a 15.027, heading steadily towards that 14-second lap time. Are we going to be able to nail that one in the final minute and 20 seconds of qualifying?
Well, I tell you what, the more drivers I look at, the more I'm convinced that the conditions or the state of the track has caught some drivers out, because we are seeing an awful lot of drivers struggling with oversteer on power coming out of these corners. Rattray White, meanwhile, who is one of those drivers who moved up to the 10K price category on SpeedwayDraft.com, given his recent form, is out there at the moment, and we'll see where he puts himself. Clayton Davies and Nathan Vanderwack are 4th and 6th for the moment. A 15.118 for Rattray White puts him ahead of the both of them.
Yeah, he's still looking like he's carrying on. I think he's already done both of his laps. No, that was lap number 1. That was actually the quick time so far for Rattray White. He'll find the fence as he comes off of 4. 35 seconds left now in qualifying, which means you need to be rolling out of the pits. Here comes one of the big heavyweights at the moment. Tim Ryan's going to try and get out here in the Logitech G Ultras engineering outfit. Let's see if car number 98 can find some horses as he pokes down the main straightaway. Goes to a 15.013. New quick time to the top of the table. We are closing in on a 14-second lap time. What has Kelly Carman got for us?
15.145, and that is his second lap. So he's done 14th spot in the end for the number 33. Rusty O'Neill. Oh, I think he might. Oh, yeah, he did. 15.1, and I think he only just scraped in with that one. Remains to be seen, though. So the quick time is going to go to Tim Ryan on a 15.013. Looks like the track was at its best during the practice and hot laps, but Henry Fenson, what a performance to get second overall.
Yeah, that'll be a phenomenal opportunity as well for Henry Fenson. See if he can't find his way through from the heat. Other standouts, Matthew Gowans from Darcy Walker, Tanner Pettit, the best of the Tanner Pettit racing machines in 5th spot. Rattray White will manage to find his way inside of that top 10. He'll be setting off from pole position from his heat, as will Clayton Davies, Rusty O'Neill, John Schultz, and Nathan Vanderwacker.
That they will. Well, this is going to be your starting lineup for the first of our heats presented by McSlide Race. Oh, sorry, Mono Creative. My apologies. Getting the sponsors mixed up there. Tim Ryan and Zach Rattray White will be on the grid on the front row with Matthew Gowans my apologies, Craig Dunn and Casey Hamilton behind them. Aston Hurley will start out a 5th spot with Matthew Stables rounding out the 3rd row of the grid. Then it's Harry Stewart, man who may feel like he had victory taken away from him last time he raced at Port Royal, starting alongside Thomas Mitchell. And then Paul Bryan with no qualifying time, last car on the grid. They're already rolling here behind the pace truck, and Tim Ryan is pulled over to the side of the circuit to let the others in the top 4 find their way ahead of him by virtue of being the first place car on the grid. He will be starting in that 4th spot, which at the moment is outside 2nd row. That's going to mean Zach Rattray White is taking point here versus Craig Dunn. So
start zone is going to be kicking off from approximately about here. There's a little gap in the inside barriers down in turn 3. You just see the end of it. And it will run all the way through to the light pole, basically, and that fence basically coming back out as we exit off of turn 4. So that's going to be our restart zone here for tonight. Great opportunities, and that'll be what it's all about. As Zach Rattray White gets the opportunity to bring us to green, this is a big, big opportunity to potentially start inside of that top 5. Look, it's an invert, and if Tim Ryan can do it, he'll start from the pole. Otherwise, we go back to our normal spinning wheel for the remainder of the results inside of that top 5. So Rattray White gets control of the field. He's got himself 8 laps to get through here and lead this field away. The next question becomes, can he hang on to it?
Yes, the tightening lines out of these corners, I think, playing a part in the oversteer issues and hitting the wall that a lot of people have experienced, but we'll put that to the back of our minds for now. Great start from Zach Rattray White as the green flag flies, and Craig Dunn will move into second spot. Tim Ryan trying to work the high line. He's making moves. He's got momentum already alongside Casey Hamilton and trying to get back into the top 3, but it looks like he'll be under pressure from Aston Hurley there, who's trying to get into those transfer spots to the inside now for Tim Ryan, and it looks like that's where the pace is. Look at that run that he's got here on Casey Hamilton, and he gets a little bit closer to Craig Dunn in the process.
Yeah, that starts to take some time out of this one, though, as we're going to get through and start lap number 3 of the heat race now. Hamilton will start to try and build some momentum off that top side. He'll start to come back at Tim Ryan, but then they run out of legs sort of as they get halfway down that back straightaway. Then you try and tip in. Now you can see Tim Ryan's looking to try and find himself some momentum, but the big thing was he was looking to shut off. Casey Hamilton has managed to do that one now. Here comes Paul Bryan, who the entire commentary box has got a little bit of tickets on tonight, trying to see if car 42 can make its way to the feature.
Yeah, Brian making his way up now alongside Casey Hamilton, as it seems like Casey's having to back off a little behind Tim Ryan. Paul Bryan, meanwhile, just sees his wheels get underneath Casey Hamilton. It's on for that transfer spot as we have now just a couple of laps to go. And Rattray White's in trouble at the front now. Looks like Craig Dunn is pressuring him and getting alongside.
That's going to create some opportunities for car number 98 as well. We're going to start lap number 6. There's going to be 2 more laps to home at the end of this one. Here comes that 98 car. As soon as he sees cars ahead of him fighting, he'll be chomping at the bit. But already you can start to see the bumps kicking in. And in fact, there's going to be a little bit more than that kicking in. Ryan's all the way up and just about into the fence, and they get through 1 and 2. Casey Hamilton had an elbow thrown his way from Paul Bryan. Here comes the white flag.
Lovely stuff from Tim Ryan there, using the high line to his full advantage. Rattray White in the wall, and Craig Dunn gets alongside him and ahead into turn 1. And Rattray White has moved back to second place. He's going to try and pull the slider here into turn 3, but it's covered off by Dunn. Can't get there indeed. Checkered flag out, and it's going to be the number 57 of Craig Dunn that takes victory in heat number 1, followed up by Zach Rattray White, Tim Ryan, and Casey Hamilton, who managed to hold off Paul Bryan in the end. Only 700ths of a second in it between them for the transfer spot. Brian, Aston Hurley, Harry Stewart, Thomas Mitchell, and Matthew Stables will not make it straight into the feature for now. They'll have to work their way up a bit further, and Stables retiring 2 laps from the end.
Yeah, tricky one for him. Matthew Stables he got into the fence basically on the restart. Initial power put down, the car sort of snapped sideways, right rear got the fence, and he tried to hang on to it, but it just the car just all of a sudden had no turn. Now we're going to be looking to heat number 2. Henry Fenson will grab the pole position for this heat. He'll start out of P4. It's going to be Clayton Davies who will roll up onto that lead to lead us to the green. Starting off of the outside of row number 1 will be Bradley Oldfield. Gary Redcliffe will line up on the inside of row number 2. He will start alongside of our pole sitter. Moving back to row number 3 will be Lachlan Rogers from Edge Esports, and Riley Hutchison. Automove's racing teams have been quick over the last couple of weeks. He'll see if he cut his way through. Moving back to row number 4 is going to be Baxter Truchet, having started a little bit deeper in the field, and that's the qualifying time not put together for him. David Baker will line up along his outside. Final spot from heat number 2 is going to be that of series admin Brady Baldwin. Tonight has elected not to take part. He'll be registering his team server administration duties.
Yes, indeed. So he's working behind the scenes to help keep this event rolling along. It's only going to be 8 cars coming to the grid here. And worth pointing out for Riley Hutchison, something that our broadcast overlays aren't reflecting just yet, Auto Moves has closed their dirt team. So from this round forward, Hutchison is racing as a privateer. So let's see what he can do versus this pretty stacked field up the front, including that brilliant one-lap performance by Henry Fenson. The purple and white machine of Fenson moving back behind them now to take that 4th spot, and that will bring Clayton Davies to the inside front row alongside Bradley Oldfield. That is quite the front row, I have to say.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one just to see how these guys get away as well, because the challenge will be opportunities presenting itself. Redcliffe's actually really outperformed himself in terms of qualifying tonight. I think that's one of his best qualifying performances of all time. So he's feeling quick and pacey. But again, probably the big thing I'd note from that first heat there, Reese, is the fact that the bumps have only just started kicking in, but it was really difficult to get that overtake done. We're starting to see a little bit of track evolution, particularly towards the back end of things, but you basically required a guy to send an overtake or a slide job and take some momentum away from someone. That brought you into the fight. So I think this heat will start to see a little bit more overtaking. Heat 3, 4, and 5 should be the juicy ones tonight.
All right, let's see how Heat 2 sets us up for that, coming to the start zone now, and we'll see when Clayton Davies decides to put that hammer down. Lovely start there, making good use of the straight line, and Davies leads us across the line to start heat number 2. But already trying to make some moves on him is Bradley Oldfield. Things getting interesting between Redcliffe and Fenson just behind as well. Fenson trying to move back into third place, and you see just behind Lachlan Rogers and Riley Hutchison, they're getting alongside each other too. Hutchison trying to get a move on here and using that high line to great effect.
Whoa! And just in the background as well, there was somebody who just about got into somebody else, and I think it might have been around Baxter Truchet and David Baker, who were just about swapping a whole bunch of paint, but the bumps are already forming. The big one's actually starting to form off of 3 and 4, and I just about saw Redcliffe, I think, got touched up on the rear end, and I think it might have come the way of Riley Hutchison, who just might have got him, but the big factor already I'm noting, Reese, was actually netcode as they transition their way over the bumps. Here comes now the run from Lachlan Rogers, who's going to try and get to the high side of the 85 machine.
Oh, he tried to cut underneath, but a little bit of contact from Riley Hutchison there. Of course, sprint cars don't have mirrors, so Lachlan Rogers would have had no idea Hutchison was there, and it looks like he's been really thrown off by that now. Contact just behind between Truchet and Baker too. It's looking like a little bit of biff and barge is the way to go here for heat number 2. Oldfield has been pressured by Fenson pretty much every lap since the start here, but it's been difficult for Fenson to actually make the move. Oldfield's had a couple of occasions where he's been wiggling on these corner exits, and you see those bumps and ruts really playing a part in that. I think Fenson is just trying to preserve a place in the transfer now at the moment. It's too risky to get that close.
Well, 2 laps left to go, and you start to talk about it, Reese. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. It's probably worthwhile, an opportunity to sort of maybe go for a ride on board, as Riley Hutchison's going to try and get down to the inside now, and it's Gary Redcliffe. Redcliffe qualified well, but now he's going to have to start coming the long way through the alphabet, and all of a sudden the ride way up and over the top. Have a look at the bump on the transition there. You saw the slick line starting to form, and then it's the bumps as they settle in. Now they'll transition out, bang, 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 as they go down the back straight away.
And the checkered flag flies for Clayton Davies, who will take victory in heat number 2. Oldfield and Fenson follow him across the line. Super close between Hutchison, Redcliffe, and Rogers there. And Baxter Truchet coming home in P7 ahead of David Baker. Those are your results then. So it's Davies, Oldfield, Fenson, and Hutchison transferring through to the feature in the end. That was quite a close heat, all things considered, particularly from 4th all the way back to 7th. Now it's time for heat number 3, and the driver who would be starting on pole position, if not for the format we're running tonight, is Matthew Gowans. Rusty O'Neill will move to pole position then, with Ayrton Smith and Ethan Foley moving up a position apiece as well, starting the grid on the 2nd row. Joel Berkeley starting at a P5 with Kobe Noonan alongside him for Vortex Simsport, title sponsor of this round. And then it's Brenton Hobson in 7th spot, starting alongside Nash Granger. Last car on the grid will be Nick Mithen, who, as we saw in qualifying, was not able to get a time in, contact with the wall on both of his laps. He'll be hoping for a bit of a cleaner run here.
Yeah, and again, just that level of difficulty of the overtake to this point in time. You're going to see everyone swap around and form up into their original positions. Great opportunity for Matthew Gowans. He's probably in the right heat. I think grabbing that pole position's probably hurt Tim Ryan just a fraction. He has qualified for the feature. Overtaking's going to come his way. But now the track's starting to wear out a little bit. That low line had just a touch too much grip. You really couldn't move around the track to try and build some momentum and take it away. One of the fastest tracks in terms of things, because remember, Knoxville, we always talk about the vortices forming off the big old wings as these things get wound all the way up. 410 cubic inches in terms of engine capacity, the largest available to these sprint cars, but also the longest in terms of straights. This is the racetrack where we really see what these cars are capable of in a straight line race, and it is challenging once those big bumps start to form. Started to see it. Expect that racing to lift from right here.
Yeah, indeed. You don't want to be running too high in the corners either, because there's an awful lot of ruts that have started to form up there. So beware of drivers running a bit too far up against the wall. Running that middle line seems to be the way to go. But will Ethan Foley be able to take advantage here? Will Rusty O'Neill get the run that he needs?
Right here, Reese, just check this out. Look at the change in the track surface right there on entry to 3 and 4.
That's an awful lot of slick that's built up there. No grip at all. Well, they'll approach it at race speed for the first time shortly as away goes Rusty O'Neill to bring us to the green. But already we see Rusty O'Neill and Ethan Foley side by side in the first couple of corners. Ayrton Smith maintaining third as Joel Berkeley has had a great start. He's moved his way up to fourth and he's trying to make it 3 wide to get into the podium spots here. 3-way battle for the transfer. And we see Matthew Gowans right behind. He'll be there to pick up the pieces if something goes wrong. Speaking of, Nick Mithen absolutely sent to the Shadow Realm there.
Yeah, he's going to go all the way back to the garage. I think he collected Nash Granger as well, so those two are going to start getting into each other. Kobe Noonan's down on the low side. He's going to try and find somebody to get it up into the high side. Somebody got the barrier. It was Ayrton Smith who's now got a whole piece of it. Look at the front wheels in the air from the U-Link machine. The number 9's going to go tumbling down through the order, and Berkeley will have a whole bunch to do. Come on, son, I need you to score me some points tonight.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Up the front, Rusty O'Neill is looking pretty calm, I should say, from Ethan Foley and Kobe Noonan. Ayrton Smith solidly in fourth. The battling is all behind there, as that was Hobson and Gowans for a second there, just about coming together for 5th spot. Smith needs to be careful, as it looks like Gowans has fallen further back. Something's gone wrong for Gowans there. I think he might have been sent over the wall.
Yeah, there's some sort of issue at the moment at this point in time. Rusty O'Neill's going to still continue trying to keep leading. Ethan Foley, I just thought for a second, might have lost that top wing. All of a sudden, Nash Granger's the car that's starting to come back towards our race leaders. It's starting to get really, really tight for these top 3 spots. And all of a sudden, all of those 410 cubic inches worth of power are starting to be challenged with the way that these drivers start to put them down. Look at them transition all the way up towards the fence, trying to rim right, trying to find some momentum.
Yeah, running as close as they possibly can here. We've got some lap traffic that these drivers are contending with there. It looks like that's Nash Granger that they were just making their way past there. But the gap is closing now. Rusty O'Neill falling under pressure from Kobe Noonan, who's having some technical issues of his own. This is not ideal, but it's race over. And it's almost 3 wide across the finish. Come together for 2nd spot. Has Ayrton Smith just stolen 3rd? He has! He
has, and I wasn't 100% sure. Kobe Noonan crossed the finish line just about upside down, backwards, and 3 kinds of sideways. He will transfer out. He did manage to lock that one in. And Ethan Foley has had some sort of drama for entering the pit lane.
Oh, he had no control over that. He was airborne, but entering the pit lane wrong is going to get you a penalty no matter what. And so our top 4, our transfer looks very different to what we expected. O'Neill winning from Smith, Noonan, and Hobson. Brenton Hobson, by some stroke of luck, has gotten into the feature on the first go there. Goodness gracious, we'll get a quick replay of that one, but Berkeley, Granger, Foley and company will have to transfer through. This is the contact here. This is the start of the final lap right here. So the outside line working nicely for both of these guys, but you'll see on the exit of 4 here, rather difficult to line it up here. And Ethan Foley, okay, looks like we started a couple of laps early here. Some nice trading back and forth between Foley and Noonan. I think we may not have time to actually get this replay in because they're just about to roll away on the grid for heat number 4, but we'll be very quick about it when it happens. So here's the slider from Ethan Foley, and then they come together here. Ethan Foley sent into the pit lane airborne. That's what gave him the black flag and demoted him from the podium.
And he crossed the finish line too. That's the worst part. He actually legitimately crossed the finish line. Darcy Walker from John Schultz. Darcy will go back to P4 out of this one. Promoted the front row, Kelly Carmen. Darcy Wilson will line up and make it an all Darcy row number 2. Row number 3 is going to be that of Hayden Vickers for Synergy Sim Racing. We announced a big expansion this week as well. Trent Gosley will be on the outside of row number 3. Row number 4 is going to be Oscar Amers for the M1 Esports number 00, and Daniel Boyd will be from the outside of row number 4. That is the 8 cars making up heat number 4.
All right, so John Schultz is going to find himself starting inside first row here as the pace truck pulls into pit lane. Another 8 laps, and then one more heat after this one before we move into the C and B main to complete our feature grid. Entering the start zone now, and Schultz is waiting. He's waiting quite a long time to get this going, and it's an even start as a result. But he'll protect that lead for the moment. Darcy Wilson trying to make that inside line work. Look at Kelly Carmen, the momentum that he has using the high line there. Almost got alongside Schultz, but it looks like our top 5 are all sharing the same racetrack. Oversteer and contact, and Schultz will fall back.
Yeah, something to fall all the way back down through the standings as it currently stands. Now he's going to have some work to do for Darcy Wilson, and there might be some damage on the front end of car number 5 here tonight, which will make it difficult for the remainder of the heat. But I tell you what, there's one driver that's just in a world of hurt at the moment. John Schultz is having so many problems trying to get that car off of turn 4. Is that a car that's having issues with the top wing at the moment? Maybe, just a maybe a fraction worth of danger. Risk versus reward as Darcy Wilson cuts his way through the second.
He does indeed, working nicely, about 9/10 of a second behind Kelly Carmen at the moment, who's looking pretty calm in the lead. But that's a lot of oversteer there for Oscar Ames. He's going to let Daniel Boyd and Darcy Wilson through, change for 5th place there. But they're still chasing John Schultz, who's been able to hold on to that 4th. He is with Hayden Vickers right now and trying his best to get onto the podium. He's just passed Vickers for 3rd.
And the best part is, Reese is continuing to get more and more rutted out, which means that there's a bigger and bigger and bigger opportunity for mistakes to certainly be made. Vic is now moving down to try and find some speed on the bottom side of turn 3 and 4. He'll move back up to the outside, going through 1 and 2. John Schultz is sitting in a phenomenal position here tonight. Strong qualifying performance. He's set to make his way through to the feature.
Yes, he just needs to keep it together. I saw in the early laps he had a couple of really big sideways moments up the top. Kelly Carmen now over a second ahead of Darcy Walker, and he'll be taking the white flag momentarily, but be careful there. It's interesting seeing that angle there, the exit of turn 2. There's actually a bit of a hump in the track. Some elevation change as you come onto the back stretch. But young Kelly, he's certainly had some great form in the past couple of rounds here. He likes these short tracks, and he is going to get it done here in heat number 4. Run to the line, and that is going to be 1.6 seconds ahead of Darcy Walker in the end. Them, John Schultz and Hayden Vickers, will all transfer through to the feature from here. A disappointing result for Darcy Wilson, Oscar Ames, Trent Gosley and Daniel Boyd. Boyd in particular, he had some really good potential in this one, but he has to settle for 8th spot, 15 seconds back from our winner.
Yeah, big old challenge for Boydie. Unfortunately, looks like something went wrong for him. There was some sort of damage or some sort of drama. I did note Darcy Walker was actually having some issues at the tail end of that heat in terms of the internet and PC connections. He's going to take an opportunity between the heats here to jump from the server, and then he's going to refire that one back up. Hopefully that fixes whatever the issues were that he was having.
So, final grid for the heats here. Tanner Pettit will start out of P4. Nathan van der Wacker will thus start on that front row there. Behind them, Jacob Freeman and Aidan Forster, the final of our Tanner Pettit racing cars here today. Nathan Norman starts in 5th alongside Brock Thompson, and then it's Dan Grimshaw and Bailey Leeson rounding out the 8-car field for the final heat. Oh, and these guys are dealing with a track that is certainly a little bit more substandard for pace compared to practice and qualifying, but the racing, I think, has gotten more intense as the heats have gone on.
Yeah, And we were talking about those bumps. They just got bigger and bigger and bigger. The big thing I'm just noting, watching these guys under caution at the moment and just pacing around, all of a sudden that middle groove has gone away. The bottom groove, I think, has still got quite a lot of loam just sitting on top, but the middle groove has started to be burned away. The entry to the corners is the biggest problem that these guys are facing at the moment. Once they actually get into the corners, the slick line sort of spreads out and everyone's been running up and down the track. So as they get into the corners, there's a lot more grip, a lot more consistency, but it's how getting that initial pivot in and the way that you balance the car and balance the slide on an initial turn in. Once you set into the corner, should be okay. Everything leading up to that is trouble.
How much trouble will there be here in the final heat with Nathan van der Wacker starting on the technical pole position for this one? I gotta wonder if Tanner Pettit has the best potential of anyone to fight his way back through to the win and take pole position for the feature. We'll wait and see though as the green flag flies, and already between van der Wacker and Freeman, it is on. Freeman cuts underneath and takes the lead into turn 3, but Aiden Forster and Nathan Norman have put Tanner Pettit back to P5. Look at the racing that's going on here, cutting underneath all through the field and the dust being thrown up.
And the big thing is, this is such a huge opportunity to throw in a World Championship license level, guys. And it's going to be once again from Nathan Norman, who's sending sliders from outer space. Now back down to the bottom side is going to be that number 24 machine. Tanner Pettit looking to find some drive and some purchase on the bottom end of the racetrack. Teammates throwing everything down at each other, all the way up and against the fence. You see the bouncy ride. Aiden Forster's having to take at this point in time. And on Vortex Simsports 9's Nathan van der Wacker gets away to lead heat number 5 of the night.
Great gap that he's already built up of 0.8 of a second. You see that Tanner Pettit there is just trying to get the drive out of these corners. And Jacob Freeman now having a double-pronged attack thrown at him. Both Pettit and Forster getting past him out of turn 4 there. Seems like he's having some car balance problems on the exit. But both Forster and Pettit now back in the transfer spot here. Pettit's going to throw the slider on his teammate as behind them Brock Thompson and Nathan Norman fight for P5. Van der Wacker's lead is just extending further and further as time goes on, and at this point with 2 laps to go, Scott, I don't think Pettit's going to take this win.
No, and it was actually that margin continuing to open up on that last lap. Back down to the bottom side. Car number 24 is looking for an opportunity to throw it down to his teammate. Great opportunity to see the teammates throwing it down. What we might see from our feature when we get down to that end of the night. Up and into the outside barrier. So for Aiden Forster, we're going to be white flag next time by. But for this time, it is all of a sudden going to be that 24 car wrapping the bottom. And again, right rear gets fed to the fence for Aiden Forster in car number 20.
Oh, still maintaining second place though, and well, there's no pressure from behind for Nathan van der Wacker, but plenty of pressure for Forster and Pettit. Van der Wacker takes the win, but it looks like Aiden Forster with the outside line managed to dispatch his teammate there. Jacob Freeman finishing a distant 4th, but still managing to get into those magic transfer spots. So out of that, Brock Thompson, the first to miss out on an automatic transfer, and he'll be joined in there by Bailey Leeson, Nathan Norman and Daniel Grimshaw. Good to see that all of our starters in that heat ended up finishing on the lead lap. But for now, that is going to sort out the first 20 spots of our feature grid. It is time to decide what the last 4 are going to be. This is the C-Main presented by Wimmera Dry Cleaners, and it's going to be Ethan Foley starting on pole position for this one alongside Trent Gosley. It's Nathan Norman in 3rd spot with Thomas Mitchell starting alongside him in car number 28. David Baker rounding out your top 5. Got Matthew Gowans for company, a driver that we're really expecting to be a contender for making his way back onto the feature grid. Daniel Boyd and Daniel Grimshaw. It's an all-Daniel lockout of row number 4. Matthew Stables, the 9th car to take to the start. Of course, Brady Baldwin will not be taken to the start. He is in admin duties tonight, which means Nick Mithen is going to take that last spot on the grid.
Yeah, and he will step back in there and try and find his way through. The other thing I noted from that one as well, Reese, did you see how much dust was starting to kick up? That says tonight, that racetrack, we normally get sort of maybe towards this point in the night where it starts to pick up dust, but just the raw amount of dust that's coming from the race circuit so early on tonight, we're going to see a little bit more track progression. Normally, when you have a little bit more of a wetter track, that dirt, that clay stays really bound together. And the benefit of that as well, it gives you something else to sort of bite into higher grip in terms of track surface. When it it's dry. That layer of dirt just sort of covers the top end of the track surface. You see it flick off quite aggressively. We're already noting just already how big those hard packed sections of the track are and the slicker lines are already. Well, part of that goes back to the amount of moisture that you get into a track. And let me tell you, the racetrack that I grew up racing motocross bikes on, it was clay. Trying to get the right amount of water into this stuff, it takes a week of solid watering before you get there. It's not a show up, water it on the day and she'll be right. Clay, you got to get a lot of water into it early.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much technical stuff that goes into the preparation of dirt racing tracks. You know, it may seem like it's a pretty simple affair. You turn right to go left and such like, but yeah, the you know, preparing the track, preparing the cars, not knowing exactly how the track is going to drive until you actually get out there. It's such a really intricate science and in some ways a black art racing on these dirt oval tracks, which is why we love it so much. Well, our field will take the green in just a few moments' time. Entering the start zone, Ethan Foley looking for some redemption here for the black flag he inadvertently got in his heat. He will lead us away, and already dramas on the start there. That's going to be Trent Gosley and David Baker battling to get ahead of Thomas Mitchell now as they are 3 wide in the midfield. Gosley falls back even further to the back of the field. Gowan's making some big gains. He's up to P5.
I think he needs to make some big gains. He's been quick here tonight and had a great opportunity. Unfortunately, not necessarily going his way in terms of the Daniel Boyd starting to get some moves thrown on him from in behind, and Dan Grinshaw's going to line up and try and have a crack at him. Matthew Stables back to the inside of the racetrack, up over and out of here through the middle of the circuit as well. So it's been challenging way down at the tail end of the field, and that might be Mithen's night over there, Reese.
Yeah, that was Nick Mithen tumbling up and over. Looked like contact with Trent Gosley there, and both Gosley and Mithen have towed back to pit lane. Their night is over. But look at this, almost 4 wide on the way out of turn 4 as Thomas Mitchell tries his best to get ahead now of Matthew Gowans. Nathan Norman taking point in second place. Look at the run here from Grimshaw on the inside. Bit too much oversteer for his taste, though. He'll lose all of that momentum as they're 3 wide again up front.
Yeah, Daniel Boyd's going to scrape paint a little bit with Matthew Stables. He's down and on the bottom end of things. Looking up at the outside at the moment, Gowans has managed to get up there to Thomas Mitchell and managed to take that spot away, but there is only 4 transfer spots coming our way out of the C main here tonight, and that means that somebody's going to find their way back through. Who's going to manage to do that? Mitchell is at the moment up and into the barrier. He's starting to struggle just a fraction. Means he's coming back to that 46 machine of Matthew Stables. Gets down to the bottom end of the racetrack. Now they're trying to find some speed, and it's going to be pretty even here now for P4, which means that 28 car is in a world of hurt.
Yeah, don't forget as well that the top 4 from this race will transfer through to the B main, but not through to the feature. They are fighting to keep their night alive, all of these drivers. Ethan Foley and Nathan Norman now pretty much so far ahead that they don't need to worry too much about the drivers coming up behind them. But for Matthew Gowans and Matthew Stables, they've got a bit more to watch out for. Stables still holding on to that P4 spot, but here comes Mitchell as there's contact between Boyd and Grimshaw right behind.
Yeah, those guys don't look like they're getting on too much in the 75 and 79 machine. All the 7s back there. Doesn't look like it's necessarily all that lucky. A little bit of running up and into the fence now as Dan Grimshaw tries to shut down the run from the 79 machine to Daniel Boyd. Coming off at 4, we'll grab ourselves the white flag. In the meantime, Ethan Foley is on his way down the back straight away. He'll get up against the fence, against the guardrails, and he will lock it out. Take our C-main out here tonight. The final transfer spots are going to go the way of Nathan Norman, Matthew Gowans, and Matthew Stables.
Yeah, Stables did a good job of keeping Thomas Mitchell at bay there, and Ethan Foley, granted with the largest winning margin of the night so far. Yes, there were a couple more laps to contend with compared to the heats, but still, 3.3 seconds is a country mile and a half in dirt racing terms. So Foley, Norman, Gowans, and Stables will take the last 4 spots on the B main grid. We're going to say goodbye to Thomas Mitchell, Daniel Grimshaw, Daniel Boyd, David Baker, Trent Gosley, and Nick Mithen. A shame, because because I think more than a few of those drivers would have been able to get into that B main if things went a little bit different. It's time now for the B main presented by McSlide Race, and it's going to be Paul Bryan who starts on the front row with Gary Redcliffe for this one. Joel Berkeley starting in P3 alongside Darcy Wilson, two drivers who we expected to be shoe-ins for the feature on any given round. Brock Thompson in 5th spot. It's got Aston Hurley alongside him. Then it's Lachlan Rogers and Nash Granger who round out your top 8 spots. Oscar Ames and Bailey Leeson, the last two cars in the top 10. Harry Stewart starting 11th for the B main like he started from 11th for the A main in 2024. Baxter Truchet alongside him. Then it's our top 4 from the C main. Ethan Foley, Nathan Norman, Matthew Gowans and Matthew Stables. 16 cars, 12 laps. Let's see who gets those top 4 spots, because those are the last 4 spots on the A main grid.
That's it. And then we're off into 30 laps worth of feature time as well. And again, another look. The big opportunity, actually. You know, nearly, sometimes you sit here and you go, oh, man, those caution laps are quick. They're not here tonight. Here you go. Another look at that slick that's starting to build. You can just see the tyre grooves just about carved into that dirt up and against the fence there as well. But the big thing is long pacing laps. A lot of opportunity to suck it back in, take a little bit of breath, and cool back down. The problem being, have a think about how many cautions you think there's going to be in the A main here tonight. And this will be a thought that these guys have got to put through their heads. You have to pick a fuel target. You don't want to add too much fuel because that's extra weight you're carrying around. These are only small machines. They have a lot of horsepower, a lot of grunt that come out of these 410 engines, but the weight is quite low. Anytime you add extra fuel that you don't have to carry around, well, that's too much fuel, that's weight, that's speed, and it's also the way that the car transitions through the corner. So have a think, particularly with these longer caution laps tonight, that will be something. Will somebody underfuel the car?
Yeah, a very interesting possibility indeed. Well, coming through turn 3 now, the drivers will be looking at that surface transition with some wariness here. Paul Bryan puts the power down, but hey, it looks like a bit of confusion between himself and Redcliffe there on the start. It's very messy up the front. Joel Berkeley's going to move into second, and Wilson cuts down to the low side. Bit of a miscommunication amongst our front row, but of the drivers who came here from the C main, Ethan Foley is thus the only one who started making moves, and oh my goodness, Aston Hurley, Lachlan Rogers, Foley and Truchet. Oh no, that's outside the circuit there for one of them. Something's gone very wrong there.
Up, over, and out of here for Lachlan Rogers, and his day will necessarily be done for the rest of them. There's opportunity to get themselves back out there, get themselves back racing, see if they can do something. There's somebody else around. I think that was, that might have been Nash Granger, I think it was, that towed back to pit lane. So we've lost Amez, we've lost Stables, and now we've lost the 05 machine of Granger.
Yeah, oh dear, that's not ideal. So we've, it looks like Darcy Wilson's out too. I saw him making a bit of contact a little earlier, and oh, that's what put the number 2, Lachlan Rogers, outside the bounds of the circuit. No way to get back on from there. And, well, it's looking like quite the race of attrition here. We got 10 cars remaining, and it's Ethan Foley and Aston Hurley, the last 2 of them. But it's on here between Brock Thompson, Gary Redcliffe, and Harry Stewart for those last transfer spots. Oh, contact there between Stewart and Thompson, and Brock is sent up into the wall. Yep, that's broken the car completely. And I think Stewart may be looking at a black flag for that. He's going to go around the outside of Gary Redcliffe, but will he hold on to that position?
And therein lies the challenge. Will or will he not receive a penalty from race control? The other thing I'm taking a quick look back at for Bailey Leeson, he hit the outside wall quite aggressively, quite hard on his own. He's got Matthew Gowan starting to chase him back down. At this point in time, Gary Redcliffe is starting to really put things together. We talked about earlier on in the night in his heat race, a lot of opportunity to try and lock something back in. But the man who is currently on a swing is car number 42. The big problem is, have a look in that rearview mirror. Here comes the big old number 9 from Ulick.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, that's big oversteer for Redcliffe. He's in danger of losing the transfer now to Matthew Gowans, and Bailey Leeson goes Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on the inside wall, and he is out now. That is almost half of our field. In fact, make it half of our field that is retired from this one. And we still have 4 laps remaining for our leaders. Matthew Gowans making it into P4, but that car is not looking entirely straight. He'll need to be careful of Gary Redcliffe, who's starting to round him up.
And Radcliffe's been issued a penalty, which means and tells me that Harry Stewart's incident's been looked at by Race Control and given the thumbs up. Not necessarily the thumbs up, it's been given the, I think multiple drivers contributed to that one. Here comes the big old challenge now to try and win the B-Main here tonight. And now all of a sudden, Paul Bryan, not just have a look in the rear view mirror, suddenly you're going to have a look down to the inside, sense that the slide job was coming. Berkeley tried to park it up on that middle groove, but look at the crossover. That's a phenomenal job to get that spot back away from him.
You saw Paul Bryan was wrenching the wheel to get it on that straight trajectory out of the corners. White flag in the air, and Berkeley's trying to build up momentum on the high line. He's carrying it through. Is Bryan going to protect the inside? He is, and Berkeley, I don't think, has a response to that. Checkered flag out. Oh, that's a big slide. It's going to be an almost dead heat between these two, but Paul Bryan finishes in front, and in the end, 0.04 of a second separates himself and Joel Berkeley. Harry Stewart rounds out the podium for our B-Main, and Matthew Gowans makes it home in P4. And in the end, Aston Hurley is granted P5, though he is off the lead lap. First of our drivers from that B-Main that we have to say goodbye to. And, well, I certainly feel for drivers like Ethan Foley, who certainly had the pace to make it work, but unfortunately technical problems, both with, you know, the way the sim works and problems with other drivers, has put him out of contention. So Hurley, Redcliffe, Leeson, Foley, Truchet, Thompson, the first of the drivers that we won't be seeing any more of tonight, but Paul Bryan, Joel Berkeley, Harry Stewart and Matthew Gowans will be the last two rows of our A-Main grid. My goodness, what a night it has been so far. We unfortunately have lost Darcy Wilson, Nathan Norman, Oscar Ames, Nash Granger, Matthew Stables and Lachlan Rogers. I would expect any of those drivers to be on a feature grid, but Port Royal is throwing up a lot of surprises.
Yeah, big slides, big bumps, big opportunities to certainly get it wrong. And I think one of the big things as well is when you have a look at Paul Bryan and the way that he drove that last lap, he'd be very, very unhappy with that. He's actually quite lucky that Joel Berkeley didn't run at the back of them, I think is a big old thing that's come out of that heat as well. That also speaks to the psychology of the drivers, Reese. And one driver that's certainly got a lot of psychology understanding of the drivers is our ever lovely admin. Brady, not behind the driver's wheel tonight, but you're here to monitor the spinning wheel. Which is the better of the wheels?
1 to 5, obviously, because you can self the pole.
Well, mate,
me,
I was
it doesn't
talking
matter because I go backwards.
The steering wheel.
Fine.
The steering wheel. Yeah. It's the steering wheel, the spinning wheel.
I'm not that good at Port Royal, to be honest, so I don't mind tonight, but you know, running the series comes first. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild old night. Pretty good up until that B main. So see what the spinning wheel has for us here, and see how everyone lines up.
Yes, the redraw presented by Australian Speedway Results is going to start things off with the number 57 of Craig Dunn. We are going to decide who's going to start in positions 6 through to 10 in the A main here. Last half of the top 10 for you, Craig. Obviously, best case scenario is 6th. Would you prefer inside or outside for the start here?
Probably inside, to be honest. I think the top's pretty wild at the moment, so I'd probably prefer the inside.
Well, the inside is what you've got. You've just drawn 9th, so you'll be starting inside 5th row.
Too easy, thank you very much.
That's the number 57 starting at a P9. Next up, Clayton Davies, championship contender here. And, well, you'll be starting a little bit further back in the top 10, but considering the chaos that we've seen thus far this night, it's probably not too bad to be a little bit further back from the front.
Yeah. I'm still just glad that I made the feature. I, again, haven't had time to do any laps, and first laps were an hour or two before the service, so to make the A-main, I think, still pretty happy about it.
Well, you're going to be starting alongside Craig Dunn on the 5th row. 10th place start for you. Let's see if you can work your way up from there.
Cheers.
Clayton Davies starting out of P10. Next up, Ayrton Smith. 6th place is still up for grabs, Ayrton. You would certainly want to be starting as far up as you can here, but the way this track is evolving, it's looking like it's going to be very difficult to maintain any position.
It's developing good. Hopefully the top goes away a bit more. I'd like that. Didn't even think I was going to be in attendance tonight because I've completely snapped my ACL and got that information today, but happy to be here and just an 8.
Ouch. Well, racing injured, you have our sympathies, but it's going to be P7 for you, an inside start on the 4th row.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, fellas.
So he'll put himself directly ahead of Craig Dunn and Zach Rattray-White there. Next up, Kelly Carmen. Some great form from you tonight, Kelly. You do like these slightly tighter circuits, and you still have potential to be starting in 6th place, but your only other option is 8. You're locked into an outside row start.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I don't mind the outside here. Hopefully the top's working on the start and I can pass a couple cars.
So 2 sides of the same coin. Ayrton Smith wants the top to fall away. You obviously don't, because you've got 6th spot.
Yeah, no, that's not bad. Just need to keep my pace I did in the heat race and, yeah, just push forward and bring a good result home.
All right, and that will bring Nathan van der Wacker into 8th spot for this one. What are your thoughts on the track so far, Nathan? How's it evolving?
We always love how Port Royal evolves. This is my favourite track, so we just love getting the right rear up against the fence and licking the stamp and sending it. And you know what? P8, it's the lucky number, so you never know what's going to happen tonight.
Excellent stuff. You, of course, race with 2 number 8s on your car. Congratulations, and we'll start deciding who's going to start in our top 5 positions. First up, it's going to be Tim Ryan. 2nd place in the championship for you, Tim, and, well, there's still potential for pole position here.
I hope so. It should be good. I actually feel like my pace is pretty good, but it's just so hectic, as even Brady knows. I think Brady's going to be a bit busy in race control, but we'll see.
Well, it looks like it's going to be inside 2nd row for you. 3rd place is what you've drawn.
I've had worse. Cheers, boys.
And the biggest comment before we grab anyone else is Brady Boardman. Does Tim just automatically get a penalty for entering tonight? Like that's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, always.
All right, get ready, Brady. It's going to be a busy 30 laps for you.
We'll let Tim Ryan go and move to Henry Benson, who is still contending for those top positions. I wasn't looking at production feed, Jay. Is that where the wheels landed? No, we haven't spun it yet. For a second, I thought that Henry had grabbed pole position, but
you got my hopes up.
Yeah, there is still potential though, Henry. You got some good form tonight here at Port Royal. This track seems to suit you pretty well.
Yeah, my teammate Lockie is really good here, and he's given me some pointers and helped me out. And I didn't screw up quali this week, so that helped out a lot too.
Well, it looks like you've, just missed out on pole position there, but still, starting in the top 5 for this one with the pace that you have is certainly nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, pace is pretty good. I just need a finish this week. That'll be my goal. So if I can do that, I think I'll be pretty happy.
Best of luck, Henry. We'll let you get back to it and bring Rusty O'Neill into the fold. 3 spots still up for grabs, the entire front row and outside 2nd row. So I've heard a lot of drivers saying that they want an inside row start. Are you thinking the same, or do you want that top to stay nice as it is?
To be completely honest, I haven't been thinking for the past 10 minutes. I've just been trying to find a Panadol in the cupboard. My head feels like it's going to explode. I'll be happy to start anywhere.
Fair enough. Another driver racing at slightly less than optimal form. Well, it looks like you're going to be grabbing 4th. You're starting alongside Tim Ryan.
Awesome. Better than last week.
And best of luck to you, Rusty. Bringing Darcy Walker in the front row is still up for grabs, Darcy, but would you want the inside or the outside?
Gosh, I don't even know, mate. I'm just happy to be here.
Fair enough indeed. We'll bring that wheel up and decide what our front row is going to look like. 1st or 2nd. We've had it decided by a matter of pixels in the past, and it's just fallen into 2nd spot for you, so you'll be starting on the outside for this one.
Too easy, fellas. Thanks for that.
And with that, slotting into 2nd spot, that means Tanner Pettit, you've got pole position for the Port Royal 30.
Sweet.
You're looking for a little bit of extra form here after a couple of rounds that haven't quite gone your way, but Port Royal giving you another chance to get back into that championship fight and equalise things between yourself and your teammates.
Yeah, no doubt. Been a little bit of a rough patch here and there throughout the season, but all in all, I hope to just stay up front and gain some points tonight.
All right, well, we'll see you take point at the front of the field when we move through in just a few moments to the 30 laps to come. Best of luck and congratulations. Hopefully we're chatting to you again at the end.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that's our grid, Scott. Tanner Pettit's on pole position with Darcy Walker alongside. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, there's going to be a big old challenge, and I think one of the bigger things that we're going to see already is those drivers starting to talk about the challenge of just keeping the thing on the track. Already talked about headache issues. I can tell you I raced with a migraine a couple of days ago and then all of a sudden didn't feel so good in the sim. So look, the big struggle is get yourself bottled back in, see what you can find to do. When you're in that situation where all of a sudden the head starts pounding, one of the things that you can do is just put the laps together. And it becomes a little bit easy because sometimes that just puts the stress off of everything because you can just get you focused on getting your eyes down the track. Sometimes that'll bring you back forward into the sim. One of the big things you can probably do as well is grab the volume button and turn that down about 5 clicks because that'll just settle everything in the sim. It takes away from peak performance. Sometimes you're listening for little bits and pieces of audio cues, and that's a large part of what we do. These things are really, really loud race cars as well. They operate right up at the upper echelons of their engine capacity here for a large percentage of the lap. That can be quite trying on a good old pounding headache as well.
Certainly can. There's a reason why they give out earmuffs at dirt oval events in the real world. The times that I've been to Perth Motorplex, even with earplugs in, when those cars thunder by at maximum revs, it shakes the air inside your lungs. It's that loud. It's just incredible. Well, we're going to be seeing that symphony of 410 cubic inch V8 power come upon us very shortly as we're reviewing our 24-car grid there. Joel Berkeley and Harry Stewart starting down out of 22nd and 23rd, two drivers who were expecting to be able to work their way up. Harry Stewart in particular has been quite strong here in the past.
Yeah, and opportunity as well. You heard Nathan Vanderwacker also stress that he feels confident here tonight. This is one of his favourite racetracks, and that'll always motivate you to sort of take a couple of extra steps forward. Kelly Carmen and Hutchison, they've got a little bit of extra momentum. I would say a little bit of extra impetus for them. They're currently free agents, and this is their first race as free agents. Probably some of the support and setups and stuff that they've cultivated in those relationships with the Auto Moves outfit, they'll continue to tick on even without the sponsorship and backing. But this is a big opportunity for them. There could be doors opening up for them behind the scenes. When guys hear that there's a big driver available, all of a sudden a seat that wasn't necessarily available, they make room at some of the bigger teams. So tonight's a really, really good opportunity. Carmen's been driving really well. Hutchison, I think, has also been a little bit underrated at the moment, so there's potential in the water for him. I think Kelly Carmen's been really, really aggressive, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So challenge for them tonight, and also potentially nerves. Sometimes you as a driver, you recognize this is a big opportunity. This could change my future, and you think about that a little bit too much. So the big thing is pull the helmet on, bolt yourself into the sim, pull the straps a little bit tighter, and just focus on laps, because if you're thinking about the stuff that's external, you're in a world of trouble.
Yeah, all you need to focus on is the track directly in front of you, and considering that there doesn't seem to have been a track reset for the feature, the track right in front of you is going to change lap to lap and probably get worse and worse as time goes on. 30 green flag laps coming up, once again courtesy of Vortex Simsport, title sponsor of this round. It's great to have Vortex Simsport come on board as one of the big supporters of this championship. I gotta say, the support that in general that this series has gotten for this season has been immense. We've really gotten into the big leagues here.
Yeah, we have. I'll give you a little bit of a readout and directly from VortexSimsport.com as well, and from the team. Vortex Simsport's a professional Australian sim racing team competing on iRacing.com. Founded in 2021 by Thomas Mitchell and Daniel Boyd, the team is built on a shared passion for competition, precision, and performance in the world of virtual motorsports. Since entering iRacing, Vortex has delivered strong results across top-tier Australasian and North American leagues. Key milestone for the team came during the 2023-2024 iRacing Thrust Model World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series. Nathan Vanderwacker proudly represented the team in the Lhasa lift trucks and wide open clothing number 89. With a commitment to professionalism, teamwork, and continuous improvement, Vortex Simsport strives to compete at the highest level of sim racing, both on and off the track. And I can tell you, it's expanded outside of sprint cars in the last 18 months as well, and I'm proud to call Vortex Simsport my racing team in the world of asphalt ovals.
Excellent stuff. Well, let's bring ourselves away rolling on this feature formation lap, as Jay's given us a nice view of how the track's slicked up on the high line here. And it also gives you a nice bit of perspective on how much the banking changes the higher up you get. It's pretty similar to tracks like Fairbury and Kokomo, where the most of the track is reasonably flat, but then the angle just ticks up when you're right near the fence. But that slick line is going to really complicate things.
Yeah, it is. And also have a look as we get up against this fence as well. We're looking back, so you're looking at the driver's right rears getting up and against those fences as well. There's a berm, and there's a little bit of assistance there, but then you can get beyond it. What happens over the course of the night is, as these drivers drive around, it flicks dirt to the outside of the racetrack. So earlier on in the night, that berm wasn't as built up on the walls at either end of the racetrack. That is built up as the night has progressed. But the problem is there's still a lot of soft stuff up against it. You've got to be in the cushion. When we talk about the cushion, there's a lip in the dirt that forms right up there and against the fence. Whilst your right rear is pushing against that, you get a lot of bite, a lot of turn, and it helps you really drive. If you miss that cushion, all of a sudden there's no grip and you are straight into that red outside fence.
Well, let's see if anyone has an appointment with that outside fence. Coming up to the start zone now, it's going to be the pole position in the hands of Tanner Pettit here as we find our way to the start zone. Away we go then, and the Vortex Simsport Port Royal 30 is go! Green flag flies, and already a great lead for Tanner Pettit. Tim Ryan moving underneath Darcy Walker to take second spot, as everyone behind is going 2 by 2, trying to find their own little bit of real estate out on the track. Henry Fenson's working that inside line very nicely. It looks like the inside's having a bit better move there. Oh, Kelly Carmen getting into the wall down the back stretch.
Yeah, big opportunity, big off, big car sideways, hard into the barriers. Lots of cars scattering to try and get their way out of that one. First caution of the night comes out on lap number 2. Kelly Carmen is going to circulate his way to pit lane and pick up some repairs.
Yes, it's the first 15 laps, I believe, that the pits are open for drivers to come in and get repairs. That contact that put Kelly Carmen down there was actually with Rusty O'Neill. Carmen got a great exit out of turn 4. Unfortunately, made a bit of contact with the left rear of O'Neill that spat him down into the barriers. Super heavy contact with the wall. And while he was recovering, a couple of other cars got involved in that. Big checkups from Casey Hamilton and Brenton Hobson down low, right there.
Yeah, and then just didn't find the grip, didn't find the support, and Hayden Vickers was on the outside. He's also going to take a transit through the pit lane and the backup car as well. Casey Hamilton's going to get back out there. Number of cars caught up in the secondary part of that incident as well.
Big thanks to Simrap Market, also our replay sponsor for this series. But fortunately, the fast repair window being open, we've seen trips through pit lane for Carmen, Hamilton, Stewart, Vickers, Brian, Hutchison and Hobson. And there's the contact there that sent Hobson absolutely pummeling into the outside fence. I'm frankly amazed that he was even able to get that thing straightened up.
Yeah, survival and just get that race car back into it. Just listening to some comments coming through from our server admin, Brady Baldwin, talking about early forming up in terms of this one. Have a look already as well. That line has already started to go away down there in 3 and 4.
It has. There's a lot more slick down on the bottom now, which means you're not really talking about fresh clay in the corners anymore, are you? It's just it's just the less used parts of the track that you're looking for, and there seems to be quite a bit of it there through the exit of turn 2. But on entry, these drivers are going to be dealing with some massive oversteer problems. And look at how far that slick line extends down the back stretch. This is going to be really rough. It's almost as if the entire top line of the circuit all the way round is slick. But these drivers have lots of experience working with conditions like that. Tanner Pettit leads us away once again for the first restart, beginning the third green flag lap. Once again, Tim Ryan slots into second very comfortably, but Darcy Walker is having a go at Henry Fenson, and Fenson will cover him off around the outside, but inside line into turn 3 will belong to the number 51. Look at all of the drivers up on the high line, the momentum that they're carrying. Zach Rattray White caught up behind Craig Dunn and John Schultz there.
And there's going to be another caution flag. Somebody comes a cropper out at turn 3 and turn 4. It's not going to be Vickers. His night's not going to be over. No, it's going to be the Berkeley machine. Car number 9 has a bent inside corner of the top wing on car number 9.
And unfortunately, the man who turned him around was Kelly Carmen, who instigated that first caution we just came off from. So Berkeley got into the wall, so it's not necessarily Carmen's fault, but in the end, getting down the bottom there, Carmen has already taken his fast repair, so that may be night done for him.
Yeah, I think that will be, because that car's quite bent up too. There's not much more he can really do about that one, unfortunately, for Kelly Carmen. But we will have to wait to see. I think he is still out there and attempting to circulate at the moment. No, he's in pit lane, so we have lost Kelly Carmen for the evening.
Yeah, we have. Such a shame after the great form that he had and being able to get into that top 10 redraw. So, looks like no further action for that incident from race control, understandably so. Berkeley almost did it to himself there by getting into the wall through 3 and 4. But one thing that has happened here is, actually, it looks like Carmen has managed to get some repairs done in the pits, and he's going to come back out. I haven't checked the rulebook in a hot minute, so I'm not sure if he's allowed to do that. But regardless, he's back out there on track, and will still have a chance to get to the finish. But race control has decided to change the restarts to single file.
Yeah, I think that's just we need to get ourselves into a little bit of a run. And the other thing I just heard as well was Kelly Carmen was those rules were not changed. He is done for the day.
Okay, so Carmen has already towed back to pit lane just in time for the restart to get going. And Henry Fenson really got into the back of Tim Ryan there coming into turn 1, but Darcy Walker's right there with them once again. Fenson rubbing the guardrail there. Up the inside of Van der Wacker goes Clayton Davies, and Van der Wacker's going to get back underneath him there. Bradley Oldfield will take advantage of that. Behind them, Rattray White and O'Neill still stuck on the bottom as the yellow flag is back out again. We've had so many cautions already. This is the third one of the day, I believe, and Craig Dunn is the one who's brought it out.
Yeah, and he is missing the right front off. That car is a right royal mess. Craig's going to jump into pit lane and get that one sorted. I think Rusty O'Neill's also been involved in this one.
Right, so done here in the yellow machine. Oh my god! Okay, so it looks like Rusty O'Neill spinning on the front stretch there at a standstill. There was barely anything Dunn could do. I do want to see a forward-facing onboard of Dunn on that incident, though, just to see what happened.
Yeah, we're going to try and grab another replay and have another look at that one. In the meantime, Craig Dunn's going to take a transition down to pit lane. This is the secondary piece of the incident. And you can just see the car shoots right because the left-hand side tyres actually found purchase and the right ones didn't. So when you have wheel spin on that side, it's going to shoot towards the fence. And the reason for that is that he actually got his left-hand side tyres down and into the loam. He found grip on that left-hand side, man.
Yeah, he certainly did. And looking at that extra context from O'Neill's perspective, it's clear that Dunn could do barely anything to avoid that one. You'll see just how quickly it all happened here from his perspective. There's the spin for O'Neill. And yeah, I mean, at those speeds, at that rate of approach, what can you do to avoid that? Not much.
Not a whole bunch. And yeah, therein lies the challenge for these guys as well. I'm just going to actually take a look at some pace statistics. They're doing about just under 100 mile an hour at peak speed in the corners, anywhere up to about 140, 145 mile an hour on the straights in terms of peak speed that's actually available to these guys. So that's what we're winding our way up to. I'm just going to do a quick conversion and I'll come back to you for that in kilometers an hour.
Rusty O'Neill with an end-of-line penalty for being the cause of that caution there and for taking Craig Dunn out of the running ever so briefly. Dunn still had the fast repair in hand, and we are only on the 6th green flag lap, so the pit window is still open. Fortunately, Craig Dunn's been able to get back out there. So everyone except our top 14 has come into pit lane as we get the restart going once again, and Tanner Pettit is certainly under no pressure on the initial getaway, but Tim Ryan flinging it on the tight line through turn 1, getting back onto the rear of him. Look at the run here from Van der Wacker. He's going to try and get Fenson and Walker. Walker. Fenson cuts back underneath him. Great reaction there from Henry. And Darcy Walker's going to get back ahead as well. Vanderwacker and Davies now will be side by side. Almost 3 wide for a second there as Vanderwacker fights back once again versus Darcy Walker.
Yeah, he's going to get back into that top lane now. Now does Nathan Vanderwacker as he tries to create some momentum down that front straightaway. A little bit of an opportunity, though, for Darcy Walker as he just didn't quite find the speed that he was looking for. Walker's going to try and slow down. No! Pettit's over! He got into the fence!
Oh, no. That was contact with Tim Ryan. And I don't know about you, but I think Race Control's going to be taking a good look at that one because Tim Ryan was trying to do the slider on Tanner Pettit. But there's just no grip. He was slipping up the racetrack all the way through turn 2. You'll see it here. Pettit, he couldn't do anything. There was nowhere else he could put the car.
But he never cleared him. So, look, Ryan's got a lot to pay. That will not go down well. That will absolutely not go down well. Because the thing with a slide job is you have to clear the guy.
Yeah.
You've got, at no point in time did he have a clear car to anyone. And did you see that as well? Pettit came back at him and just said, hey, mate, I was there. I was up the top the whole time. I think he's got a right to be annoyed with him. Absolute right.
I don't disagree. Tim Ryan getting an end-of-line penalty from Race Control, and you would argue rightly so. But I think that really speaks to the state of the track right now. It's so slick down there through turns 1 and 2. Tim Ryan probably threw that thinking that he was going to clear Tanner Pettit, but there wasn't enough speed down low and there wasn't enough grip in the tyres to sort of get him through the turn in the end. Henry Fenson will lead the race from here.
Well, the thing is, it's been looking for that middle groove as you cross over, and that's what he was looking for, was any little bit of bite. If he gets a little bit of bite as he transitions back through the middle groove, he's probably okay. He doesn't get that high, but there was nothing. You're 100% right in that one. Henry Fenson, big opportunity. Now, the other side of that coin is, did you see the slide job that Nathan Vanderwacker sent a couple laps just before that one as well? We're about to go back green. We'll do one more lap on a pacing. My apologies. But the thing is, did you see the slide job Vanderwacker sent probably about 2 laps before that one? He went aggressively all the way to the top, and I held my eyes. I closed my eyes because I wasn't sure who was going to land that one. So I think you're 100% right. I think the track has just developed to that level that it's gone away. But big opportunity. This is a huge opportunity for Henry Fenson and Nathan Vanderwacker as well. Think about how confident he's sitting there. Podium P2 last time out. This slider. This is the exact slider I was talking about. Gets all the way up there, parks it, and Fenson was very, very alert to it. And if he was not, and he just continued trying to hold the high line, both of those cars are done for the day.
Just shows you how close those margins are. Well, it's restart time, and Henry Fenson will lead us across the line when we go back to green here. And it's a nice, stable start for him. He's looked very strong at Port Royal all night long, and this is his chance to prove it. And Vanderwacker is falling under pressure from Darcy Walker. I get the feeling that second place fight will result in enough squabbling that Fenson may be able to get away, but just as I say that, the gap for the lead's closing up again, and Vanderwacker throws the slider on Fenson for the lead. We're checking in with Zach Rattray White at the moment, who's trying to stay in the top 7, side by side between our leaders. Fenson trying his best to keep the grip up there, finds some fresher clay there on the outside. So close into turn 1. They're just trading blows there as Fenson gets a big helping of oversteer, and he's going to lose touch with Nathan Vanderwacker.
And here comes Clayton Davies now, who's driven his way back and up and into this picture. Here comes the 29 machine. Darcy Walker's starting to feel like he's got a little bit of comfort, a little bit of opportunity to go forward. Yellow flag is going to fly. That will freeze the field. And that, I think, is what our 5th caution of the night at this point in time, and we're hearing it might be car number 42. Remember what I said, about 15, 20 minutes ago, Reese? There could be a lot of cautions in this feature, and the lap distance is long. Fuel could be a concern.
Yeah, certainly could. Contact with Kobe Noonan there for Paul Bryan, and it looks like that broke the right front suspension. He was trying to slow it down, but ultimately ends up mounting the guardrail into turn 3. So an ignominious end to Paul Bryan's night there. Shame for all of us in the commentary box, really. We had him on all of our Speedway draft rosters, so that's some points gone for us, but more importantly, a lot of points potentially gone for Paul Bryan.
Yeah, massive potential. Now have a look back through the field. In terms of cars that have been to pit road, Harry Stewart's the lead of them. He's all the way back up to P12 at this point in time. Jacob Freeman had a very, very strong heat right at the start into the night as well. He's up and in amongst this one at the moment. Kobe Noonan's sitting in a pretty reasonable spot as it currently stands in 10th spot, sitting nice and pretty. And there's the graphic as well. That's the number of spare cars that have been used, and it's actually right about half the field. A lot of attrition here tonight.
Yeah, indeed. But that window is going to close in just a couple of laps' time. Remember, it's open for the first 15 laps, and we're going to start lap 14 when we take this green flag right here in the hands of Nathan van der Wacker. Nice aerial view to see which lines they're taking into turn one. Fenson committing to the outside there. Look at the momentum he gets, but the bumps and the ruts up the top are really stymieing that momentum for him.
And you've got to take the risk because that's where the speed is at this point in time. But it's risk versus reward. If you want to lead this track, if you want to win what's on offer here tonight from Port Royal, and we're now... Oh, that's going to take out a bunch of high-placing cars. Cars up and over and on their lid as well. And again, it just blows up. It's Clayton Davies, who's been Mr. Consistent in this championship to date. He's on the tow truck back to pit lane. And car number 10 might be taking no further part.
Oh, that's a shame. We are on lap 15, though. Lap 15 is not officially concluded, so I think the fast repair window is still open. Davies towed back to pit lane, though, so I don't think he'll be able to make it back out there. Just an unfortunate coming together between those two cars. Davies was trying to put the slider on, but Fenson caught one of those bumps up high and had a huge helping of oversteer that sent him back down the track towards Davies.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? Everyone's squabbling for this thin bit of real estate, and you've got nothing. Like, in terms of the risk versus reward level, you've got to be so precise. If you are not, and you miss it fractionally, it's a big, big issue. Fenson's going to race around and grab his fast repair at this point in time. He'll rejoin at the tail end of the field. There's a couple cars there as well, but yeah, you're right. Clayton Davies' day is done. Nothing that he can potentially do here. And Henry's been allowed to have the fun ride back through pit lane. He's been given permission to be a little bit more express than you normally would be allowed to.
Yes, pit speed limit's certainly a lot slower than what Fenson is going there, but he needed to get it done. Race control will review that incident post-race, but well, from our perspective, I think it just looked like an unfortunate coming together. Fenson was pretty much out of control for a couple of moments there before Davies was coming up, and there was no way Fenson could have known that Davies was there.
Yeah, and again, it's mistakes. Absolute mistakes. So I'm just hearing, so there's just some administrative stuff that I'm just trying to pay attention to in the background at this point in time. So what race control has just said is basically stay where you are, so where you finish out on racetrack. And the reason for that is they had to try and rejig things to get Fenson through the pit lane and get that fast repair served, because when race control basically said it was allowed, it was just after he passed the pit lane entry cone. And you can't go backwards on a racetrack, of course, so he had to race around and try and get that one served.
And he did. Well, he managed to in the end. And the pace truck is in. Green flag out. And Nathan van der Wacker will lead us across the line here. But just look at how much the rear ends of these cars are swaying as they get up to speed. And how much the wheel is working there for Darcy Walker. Matthew Gowan's in a bit of trouble. He's got Aiden Forster on his outside. And here comes Zach Rattray White as well to make it a big battle for this top 7. Ayrton Smith right with him as well. Smith's having a consistent run thus far. Confirmation of the fast repair window being closed. From here on out, if you have race-ending damage, your night is 100% over.
Yeah, damage of any kind, you'll have to carry your way all the way through to the checkered flag at this point in time. Battle for the lead has been starting to heat up, and it's this battle a little bit further down. Here comes Matthew Gowans, who's been on the climb back through the fields, bottom to top as he tries to slide it up and across the nose of car number 20 at this point in time. Forster's trying to cut his way back through, moves back up to the fence, trying to find some grip. Again, it's risk versus reward. He moves down half a lane and finds no drive. This is the battle now for the race lead at this point in time. They're starting to throw things at each other, because here comes van der Wacker, but more importantly, Darcy Walker is growing ever bigger in the rear view of car number 88.
Yeah, the top two have broken away from the rest of the field, and so the squabbling is back here. Rattray White with a slightly straighter exit there than Aiden Forster, who's just trying to hold on to a good position here. Forster came into this leading the championship, so he needs a good result here to try and back that up. There goes Harry Stewart past Zach Rattray White, another driver who's charging his way up the field, up 16, 17 positions, but now that's going to come to an end. I think I just cursed Harry Stewart already. It's been a tough one for him, but you have my commiserations and my apologies, Mr. Stewart. That is day done, and it looks like Tim Ryan is done as well.
I think he's just been collected in that one secondarily, so he'll score not all that many points here tonight. And the thing I want to say from that one, I was lucky enough that I had my camera placed in the right spot at the right time. I was just about on board with Rattray White, just trying to keep an eye on what that battle was like. Watch this snap in the opposite direction as he gets off here. So he gets parked up in the middle of the racetrack. Right here, look at that car. It hops out the bumper, just skipped, and there's nothing he can do. Like, he cannot do anything as soon as that car hops to the right, there's nothing he can do. And the trouble is, that specific section of racetrack that he just crossed, when else during the night would he have crossed it at that angle? None. And the racetrack's developing. So hang on. We just heard there's a second incident, Reese.
Oh, okay. Well, Casey Hamilton is the one that we're looking at the moment. That's Tim Ryan going up and over. And Hamilton collects him and drags him along the racetrack at some crazy speed. So 2 crashes there for race control to work out. What happened to Tim Ryan to put him in that spot in the first place?
Well, too late to have a look at it now, because here comes car 88 back to the restart zone. And at this point in time, it's Vanderwacker who's leading us back to the green from Darcy Walker, Bradley Oldfield, Matthew Gowans, Aiden Forster, and Rattray White.
Oh, looks like that was contact with, was that Noonan maybe that put Ryan up into the wall? No matter, green flag is out, and Vanderwacker is leading us again. Bradley Oldfield going for it on Darcy Walker, and here comes Matthew Gowans to try and get onto the podium after starting dead last in this field, but he's got Zach Rattray White and Aiden Forster to contend with. Up into the wall goes Oldfield, and cutting underneath is Jacob Freeman, and Joel Berkeley moves back through into P7. This is crazy. It's chaotic out there.
Yeah, and at this point in time, look at the dust that's starting to kick up from the rear end of these cars as well. Remember how we said it was dry earlier on in the night? It's even drier now as they've been taking every little bit of grip out of this racetrack. Rattray White has started to pull himself through the field. He's up to P4. Oldfield gets into the fence again. This time his right front is broken. He will try and survive. Try and hang on to this one. Wacker has started to pull away. Walker is starting to come under assault. And here comes Matthew Gowans.
Making a move up to second into turn 1. Beautiful stuff from Matthew Gowans, and he gathers it up to get the slider done perfectly. But it's 1.2 seconds in front for Nathan Vanderwacker. It's going to be really difficult in these last 5 laps for anyone to make up a margin like that. From the C main to the B main, all the way through to the A main, second spot for Gowans. This is going to be a great result for him if he can pull this off. Kobe Noonan back in 11th spot now as Tanner Pettit is trying to work his way back up through the field. There he is, taking 9th spot from Ayrton Smith, but collects a berm, collects a bit of slick, gets into the wall. It's far from over at the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, and, well, maybe it's just about survival here from Port Royal tonight. Big old challenges, big old out and slideways. Nathan Vanderwacker sees 4 to go. Next time by the stripe will be 3. He'll be hoping for no more cautions, and all of a sudden for car number 88, the risks will become minimal. He's got half a second to burn per lap. That is the advantage he's got to play with. Everyone else has got to throw the Hail Marys as much as they possibly can. Have a look at the moves. Here comes the 51 machine trying to find some speed. Can't quite get there. Now it's going to be on for P number 2, and Gowans has managed to grab that one back away. 2 to go at the stripe, and there is a 4-car battle for the last spots on the podium.
Rattray White trying that inside line, but Aiden Forster's got that car sorted in the middle through 1 and 2, managing to keep ZRW behind him. The start of the final lap is upon us, and Vanderwacker's lead is now out to 2 seconds. There's no catching him now, but who is going to finish second? Darcy Walker with a great run out here, but they've got lap traffic to contend with on the inside. Protecting the inside is Matthew Gowans. Up front, Vanderwacker takes the checkered and wins at Port Royal, but Gowans and Walker, a dead heat almost across the line. How close was that gap? Walker just managed to get there by a 10th. There was nothing in it.
Yeah, absolute phenomenal run right throughout the field, up and down, and how aggressive that one was. And on the night, where the team boss is the primary sponsor, it is going to be for Vortex Simsport in the Vortex Port Royal 30. It is Nathan van der Wacker getting it done on board car 88.
What an incredible run from Nathan van der Wacker. Don't forget, he started in 8th for this feature. He managed to stick in the top 10 the whole way through, despite everything happening around him. Loads of heavy hitters being taken out there. These victory donuts will taste especially sweet. And yeah, I mean, what a happenstance for the title sponsor team to be taking victory today. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and I know that there'll be a very, very happy Thomas Mitchell will be madly messaging and fist pumping. He gets excited seeing his boys do well tonight, but there'll be a lot of celebrations, and you can see what this means for car number 88. Van der Wacker said at the top of the night, just before we jumped into our A main, how much this racetrack meant to him. Favorite racetrack, favorite spot at the moment for car number 88 as he looks to find his way towards victory lane. And that one, I think, is going to live on for a fair while. It's not been the greatest of runs over the last couple of years, but when he finally sticks it all together, it's Port Royal Victory Lane. I tell you what, he is enjoying that one. The donuts he did, I think that one means something to him tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. He came into the A main with lots of confidence, and he is rewarded with victory in the end. Maximum points from that A main, with Darcy Walker finishing in 2nd. Matthew Gowans, the hardest charger in the field. He started 24th and last and works his way through to 3rd. What an impressive run from the number 8. Aidan Forster, championship leader coming into this round, finishes P4. It's a good point stay for him in spite of all the chaos. And Rattray White rounding out the top 5. Another impressive run. Joel Berkeley, 16 spots up to finish in P6, ahead of Tanner Pettit and Riley Hutchison. And then it's Jacob Freeman and Brenton Hobson working their way back from deep in the field to round out the top 10.
Outside of the 10, Kobe Noonan is going to make it the 26 machine in 11th spot. Etten Smith, 9 seconds down. Have a look at how tight this battle was. 1/1000th of a second separating Smith from Craig Dunn, who didn't have the greatest start to the feature race here tonight. John Schultz will be home 6/10 back in P14. Henry Fenson and Rusty O'Neill had a good old scrap for 15th and 16th. Casey Hamilton would find himself the last car home on the lead lap. Off of the lead lap, the number 51 of Oldfield for Ulick Simsports had a troubled night alongside that of Hayden Vickers. Harry Stewart would retire 10 laps from home.
That's unfortunate. Not great luck at a track where he's been very strong. Tim Ryan, Clayton Davies, 2 of the heaviest hitters in the field, out by the time we had 10 laps to go. Paul Bryan and Kelly Carman, the first cars out, and what a shame it was to see. Again, you know, the drivers that comprise this retirement list, you would expect to be finishing well on any given day. So Port Royal proving to be a very brutal round this season for a lot of our main contenders in the Drivers' Championship. We're going to change over to our interviews now, and bringing it in first place, Nathan van der Wacker. Well, I said earlier you sounded confident, and Scott said the same coming out of that redraw, Nathan. But victory is yours in the end, and survival was the name of the game.
Mate, there's a reason why I love to call this place Port Wacker, because I just love getting up on the fence. And hey, we've had 2 ODSC races here, and I've won both of them. So, yeah, definitely a track I love. It's so risky getting up against that fence, but again, played it patient. I knew there was going to be a few wrecks, and we moved our way around them. And gets to a stage though where you've got to send it. Like you can't just knock off that cushion, because you get off of it and you're losing a bunch of time. So. Yeah, you got to send it, and lucky I sent it hard enough tonight and came away with the win.
Yeah, it's going to be a great points day for you and for your team, Vortex Simsports, who take victory in the round that they are the title sponsor of. That's a nice little coming together for all of you guys.
Yeah, I think Thomas is going to be very, very, very happy with that one. Yeah, we love our Port Royal, and yeah, I'm glad I get to keep him happy. Again, I didn't know what the form was going to be like coming into tonight, but yeah, I'm happy that we've sponsored the round, and it makes this even better to park it in victory lane for Vortex Simsport Port Royal.
It certainly does. Well, the floor is yours. Anyone you want to thank from the team before we let you go, Nathan?
Yeah, I think Scotty's going to be a bit happy with me this week. I definitely got to thank McLean and Yam Veterinary. That's the first thing on the list, Scott. I'll keep you happy, mate. All right. But yeah, of course, all the boys at Vortex and BBS, again, I get to come on here with barely any practice, and Colin Bocas does an incredible job with the setups and coming in and just trusting what he's done and coming out there with just a lightning quick race car. It really helps. So yeah, all the boys at BBS and Vortex for all their hard work and help behind the scenes, and of course our other sponsors, Madison Canningvale, Toyota, Pace Graphics. Well, we got Casey Simon's cinematography and Australian Speedway Results. Huge thanks to, of course, all the guys at ODSC and all you guys at SimSpeed for putting on a great show as well.
Put your hands together for Nathan van der Wacker, the winner of the Vortex Simsport Port Royal 30. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. We'll be seeing you next week at Knoxville.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
That's Nathan van der Wacker there, celebrating victory. Another driver who's celebrating a lot, Scott, is Matthew Gowans, who got onto the podium from dead last.
Yes, Lady Luck was on my side.
I was just about to say, that is about the toughest run that you've had throughout any sort of C main run right throughout the evening, mate. A lot of work to do, but the biggest thing is, hey, man, sometimes it's more laps out on the track. It was all just practice coming your way through. You just wanted extra laps on the track.
That's right. I could dial my wing in and my restrictor in and a couple of other changes with the car because I got to feel what it was like during the C and B. And but obviously, yeah, you don't want to be running that C and B. But I was glad to make the feature, and whatever happened from there was going to happen. So I'm happy to the way it evolved.
Mate, challenging and rough night. I mean, talk to us about. I think the big thing is this place is you got to be big, you got to be brave, you got to risk yourself getting up against that fence. And then it's those bumps. But the problem is you've got to take risk at this racetrack to get that reward.
Yeah, if you want to move up the field a bit, you got to be up the top there. Unfortunately, and I know Brady tried to do what he could do regards to, making sure there was some kind of bottom and that, and killed the top a bit during the warm ups and that, during the night to try and slow that speed down a bit. But just this track and Eldora and the like, sometimes it's just always top. But here you can be punished. Like Eldora, you don't really get punished if you make a mistake up the top. But here, your night can just end, as you've seen a lot of cars just, yeah.
Challenging night. It's been a challenging old season. Did I hear from Brady Ball, was that the first time that sort of you've been up here and on the podium and celebrating with us? Because it's difficult with just the challenging level of this field, but it's so often we see guys get out there and never get their opportunity up here and having a chat to us.
Look, it's a stiff competition. You gotta, I finally got a good quali in, but then with the invert tonight put me back to fourth, but I just collapsed in the heat. I made a couple of mistakes and, I didn't know what was going on. Just felt like I was new to the game again, and, but then, I got a second, I think at Housat's earlier in the year, but it's just so hard. It's, the people are coming behind you, so you got to be on it if you want to hold that position, and mistakes are going to happen when it's like that, because they're on it, and what do? Do you just let 5 cars by so you can just keep rolling around? But I was just rolling the top in 3 and 4 and just kind of doing a slider line into 1 and 2. I didn't want to get up there in 1 and 2 on entry, and that was just too bumpy.
Mate, challenging night. Port Royal's a big old ticket item, and this one comes away with a couple of fist pumps and a colour celebrations. Who would you like to thank for getting it done? For car number 8, Matthew Gowans and Old Man Racing.
Yeah, shout out the lads at Old Man Racing. Dan, Craig, Weston, good bunch of lads to muck around on this game with. And, thanks to Brady and the other admins behind the scenes. We couldn't do this without them, obviously. And shout out to you lads at SimSpeed. So I've got something to watch tomorrow. So thank you very much to everyone.
Mate, just congratulations on the night. Go back, celebrate and enjoy. Big old challenging festival. Mate, maybe it's time to go and get that spine readjusted after slapping yourself over the bumps at Port Royal, brother.
Oh, yeah, the wrists and the shoulders, mate. Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Reese, take us down that final step on the podium.
Absolutely. Joining us now in the comment. No, that's it. Okay, it looks like no one else is going to be joining us here. No Darcy Walker, which is a shame, but still a great result for him. And, well, good to see that I've cracked the 15,000. Oh, that was last week's. Okay, all right. Let's wait with bated breath here, Scott Rankin, to see the updated rankings. I was in the lead, you were second, Jay was third, and now...
Yes!
Whoa!
You won the week? Jay Kennedy finally gets it done. Okay, right.
Jay. Apparently, Brady Baldwin won the week overall for Speedway Draft. So, I guess should sit out a bit more often. Maybe it gave him a bit more time to have a think about which drivers are going to do well today.
Yeah, perhaps, maybe. But the big thing here, Reese, is that you were out to a 998-point lead over me, mate, and you were right up there and in contention for taking the season championship. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the Southpaw Racer has copped a few Southpaw fists to the face, I think, in terms of that point standings, brother. It's back now to a lot more even. It's a 350-ish point margin that we've pegged back. Still some work to do here for up and against the fence. And, well, Jay Kennedy, mate, it's good to see you out here.
About time, Jay says in the background. My goodness. Well, that is going to conclude proceedings for tonight. Of course, the fun doesn't stop because we're racing next week as well. Here's the upcoming schedule of the Australian Sim Racing Group events. Knoxville Raceway, of course, next week with the Circuit Zandvoort playing host to the Moser Porsche Pro Invitational Series the week after. And then the 500k Enduro at Sandown that Friday for the Logitech GV8 Pro Invitational. This is a stacked month.
But the big thing is, and have a look at that event that's down at the bottom end of that one, August 12th. Obviously, the logo that's sitting right next to that's actually technically not correct. But the big thing is the mountain, it beckons. And Reese, it is a month and a week away. I think that's, 6 weeks away before we get to the mountain. It is roaring. It is calling. And what does hosting 1,000 kilometers in the middle of winter do to change the way the place drives?
Yeah, that is the question. We'll need to wait and see on that. We're hearing a lot of talk with the GT3 series racing there this week and the officials, how the cold track temperatures are really affecting the pace. But this is what's up on the cards next for sprint cars. In 7 days' time, we'll be racing at the National Sprint Car Track, Knoxville. This is the Bathurst, the Spa, the Suzuka of dirt oval racing. We really love this spot. It's super high speed, super wide, and we're going to be seeing these guys going at full pelt around here. Maximum speed from the sprint cars.
Yeah, we talked about those vortices and just how quick these things get around here, but it's that one, Knoxville. You really get to carry that speed through the corners. At Port Royal, you lose a little bit of that, but that speed is going to be clawed all the way back. This one is going to be a challenging one. Zandvoort is a tough, tricky track whereby the corners double back on themselves. But the bigger thing is when you compare it to the Nürburgring GP layout that we went to earlier on in the year for the Moser Racing Porsche Pro Invitational, the track narrows, and it narrows significantly. A couple of key overtaking opportunities, but the big one is don't pinch a brake when you're heading down to that clutch chicane in that final sector, because it's followed immediately by a slow hairpin.
Certainly is. And of course, 500Ks at Sandown for the Logitech GV8 Pro Invitational. We always love Sandown, a track that is still limping on in the real world in spite of its future being constantly under threat. But in the sim world, we don't have to worry about any of that. We can go racing there anytime we like. Friday, 17th of July. Mark that date in your calendar if you're keen for some Sandown 500 action early this year. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in over the course of tonight's broadcast, whether you came from YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Kick. Thank you very much for being a part of this. Huge thanks to Vortex Simsports as well for the title sponsorship of this round. All of the other various partners, sponsors, and supporters of this series as well for helping to get all of this off the ground, as well as the crew at ODSE for organizing everything behind the scenes. Nathan Vanderwacker taking the win today here at Port Royal Speedway. Be very interesting to see what those championship standings look like coming into Knoxville next week, but you'll have to tune into SimSpeed TV in 7 days' time to see that. My name's Reese Gardner, Scott Rankin alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy producing behind the scenes. We'll see you at Knoxville.
Ladies and gentlemen, get whacked.
Yeah.